Welcome to the 10th compilation celebration. 123 paranormal clips were analyzed between episodes 71 to 80. So let's celebrate these 10 videos together. It is free to subscribe, so please subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And thank you for being a part of the Question Everything community. Is this a shadow person? So as we walk around this banister, the camera will pass down the hall and suddenly a shadow moves on the door. Is that a shadow person or just a shadow? Well, we can definitely tell that there is a window in the room just because of the light shape that's on the wall and on the door. So is it possible that was a bird or a cat that was outside of that window? This shadow is definitely in the shape of a cat, and it moves like a cat jumping down from the windowsill onto the ground. So I'm not convinced this one is paranormal. I think it's just maybe the cat heard him walking on the floor that has all this debris on it. I don't know. There are simply too many other things that can be a shadow for us to assume that this is paranormal. Is this a peeping Tom? As the camera goes through this abandoned building, there is something looking at us through the empty doorknob hole. We will see the doorknob hole go from being dark to being light, as if someone was standing right there. Is it possible it's just an odd camera angle where on the other side of the door there's a window frame that is captured? Because I noticed right here, very sharp edge. So that's why I think maybe that's a window frame or a piece of furniture and not a human being and not a ghost. Besides, would a ghost need to look through a hole in the wall when can't they pass through walls? Is this a ghost? We suddenly see a blurry figure walking to the porch of that house. Was that a ghost? Are these people being haunted? I'm not sure if this is an IR sensor issue, a datamage issue, or if this is simply a shutter speed issue, but I do know that this is a camera glitch and not paranormal. I think this footage comes from 2005 and it's just an older camera that did not have all the good sensors in it and speeds in it and whatnot to be able to capture the full image when there's no light. Old tech, not a ghost. Is this a ghost nanny? As we watch this doll in this old-fashioned stroller, suddenly the umbrella that is above the doll's head will start to move. Who or what is moving this umbrella? Is it a ghost? I have mixed feelings on this one. I could see how using a string and just pulling it would cause it to move one direction, and maybe it has a tensile strength to it that causes it to move back to the other direction. But the fabric is flapping as if a wind is on it, some type of breeze. So I don't know if it's poor quality camera that makes it look like it's flapping, or if the way the string is attached is causing the fabric to move and flap a little bit. Even with enhancing the footage, we see the flap a little bit more but it's kind of flapping on the sides where you wouldn't think a string would be attached. This one might be paranormal, I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Is this a shadow person? When the camera is pointed down this hallway, we will suddenly see a shadow on this pole that disappears. Is it just the camera angle? Or is it a shadow person? We can see that there's a dark shadow covering up that pole at this point, but then it disappears at this point. That is less than a second. I'm not sure if this is an optical illusion, a trick of the light, or if it really is a shadow person. My understanding of shadow people is they are darker than dark. The mere fact that nothing shows up in the darkness of the background makes me think this might actually be a shadow person, simply because we can only see its outline on that pole and the speed that it vanishes. Is this a shadow person? Suddenly we will see a shadow walk through the doorway. It's very faint and hard to see, but we can see a dark shape. What is that thing? Is it a shadow person? Is it a real thing? Is it some type? My guess is this is a real person who may have been dressed all in black that walked into the room, and through video editing they've made it this transparent blob. I'm going to use this oval shape and show you the basics on how editing tools can be used to recreate that image. I reduced the oval's opacity to make it transparent, and then I used a simple animation just to get it to move from right to left. It's just really an easy thing to create. Even though I have not mimicked its exact movements, I don't have those skills, but I know that this is definitely a video effect type thing where they're just, using editing tools to create this image and animate this image. So, not paranormal, just an editing trick. Is this another shadowy figure? As the camera moves through this abandoned building, when the camera points towards the doorway, it appears there's a figure there. Who or what was that? Was it an optical illusion? Is it a trick of the light? Is it someone playing a hoax? When we zoom in and slow it down, it looks like there's a sleeve that is blocking that door jamb. We can also see an outline of a shoulder and chest. It appears that something is there, but is it paranormal? It almost looks like that oval that I put in the previous clip. And at this stage, that kind of looked like it was fake, like it was copy and pasted in. So when we walk through this doorway and go into this room, it's a very small room that doesn't have an ability to exit. So on the right side is shelving, and then the left side you just saw. So it's possible that he moved to the right and then got on the floor and moved out of the door, if this is a person playing a prank or a hoax. So at least we know there's no window in there to cast a shadow like this. I'm not sure on this one. I could see how it could be recreated using a living person or CG effects. Could it be some type of a mannequin or costume that's hanging from the ceiling and dangled in front of that doorway? There is a cut in the footage just before he goes through that door. Did he cut to hide whatever was hanging from the ceiling? Or did the people that I got this footage from cut that footage out? I'm not sure on this one. I could see how it could be recreated, but still I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments what you think on this one. Is this ghostly figure dangerous? Two motorcycles almost collide, but then the one motorcyclist stops. But when he stops, there appears to have been another motorcyclist or a bicyclist that kept going. This one is hurting my brain, because I believe there's a camera glitch that is causing this ghostly cyclist. But we just saw a motorcycle go the opposite direction in that same space. I know two-wheeled vehicles don't take up much space, but how is this possible? And of course, the motorcyclist that parked on the opposite side of the road, as well as the ghost cyclist, are driving on the wrong side of the road. I know it's a camera glitch as far as this guy here that disappeared, and I know that's also what would have caused that ghostly cyclist is simply a camera glitch, but there's also not enough room for the ghost cyclist. None of this makes sense, is my point. And when it doesn't make sense, typically that means it's paranormal. But I feel like I'm missing something. What is this creepy cryptid? As the camera is pointed throughout this forest, suddenly it will zoom in on some type of creature. What is this creepy cryptid? It's large, it's bipedal, it's humanoid, but is it human? Or is it the notorious Sasquatch? I know if I was wandering around in the forest and I came across anything large, I would be freaked out and running the other way. I certainly wouldn't stand still and try to capture it on footage, but I think I have more of a survival instinct than this camera operator does, because that thing could have just as easily have been a grizzly bear. And again, we have grainy footage and it's very hard to see it clearly, but I would guess it's probably a human in a costume, just because of how frozen the mouth is, which is how most masks are. Is this a demon or a devil? So the flashlight suddenly comes across something standing on top of that hill or ledge. It's all black with the exception of its head that tends to have this reddish hue to it. What is that thing? Is it demonic or devilish? Is it a shapeshifter? A costume? A hoax? A prank? Is it staged? Is it dangerous? Are they safe? Should they run? Is that a stick in its hands? A stake? A weapon? Kind of looks like a tree branch. Well, this is dramatic. If I have an urge to clap, that makes me think that this is staged. And the epic movement of just dropping the stick seems just too bizarre. I would clap for an encore to see if he drops a rock next. Is this cryptid chasing them? One of the things I look for when I am watching these videos where we're in a vehicle is I try to look for a landmark where they could have a pre-arranged meeting with somebody and say, hey, when I get to this part, you start running and then I will film you running beside us. because we're about to come to a fork in the road. We're going to go to the left, and when we go to the left, the camera is going to point towards the left, and that's when we're going to start seeing something running beside them in the brush. See it? So the camera was pointing straight ahead, and then all of a sudden it started pointing left and catch this thing running. That's an indicator to me that this is all staged and set up. Besides, I feel like if it was a real Bigfoot, it would have ran away from the road, not along the side of the road. One of the ways you can tell that this is a costume is the lack of muscle definition in the leg. It just looks like flabby fabric. What is this dark figure doing? In the distance, we will start to see a dark figure walk from behind the trees and along that tree line very slowly and very creepily. Is this just a person in mourning that looks like they're disappearing because they're blending in with the trees? This just gives every appearance of somebody in mourning because this is in the area of a cemetery. They are not disappearing, it's actually the trees that they're blending in with. It is creepy without a doubt, but see, they walk behind the tree on that one, and they're walking behind a tree that we can't really see because it's blending in with the bigger tree behind it. Maybe if this shadowy figure was transparent, I might believe it was paranormal, but I think this is just a human being dressed all in black that's just walking around those trees in that forest area that is next to a cemetery. Often when you're around death, you ponder life, and this just seems like somebody pondering life. Not convinced this one is paranormal. What are these creepy fingers? So we have somebody that is wandering around outside at night with a phone and a flashlight. As we get to the corner of this building, we don't see anybody. But are those fingers reaching around the corner of that building? And now is it time to run? Yep. Is this a cryptid? Is it a hoax? Is it staged? Is it a person wearing a costume glove? Is it some weird, creepy, crawly type of insect or animal? It kinda looks like a crab to me. I just don't know if crabs can walk on the side of walls. It's creepy, but I'm not convinced it's paranormal. Is this a shadow person? This time we are on a beach, and ever so often the light gets really bright, and I don't know why it goes from dim to really bright, but in the distance we'll see a dark figure. Very faint, but it's right there. Is this a shadow person? Is it a ghost? Is it a demon? Is it dangerous? Is it staged? Is it a prank? Is it a hoax? Is it just a paranoid camera operator who doesn't understand that people hang out on beaches at night? We're expected to believe it's paranormal because of the reaction of the camera operator. But what it looks like to me, even though this is poor quality camera, is somebody that's got a blanket wrapped around them and they're just standing there looking at the water. I find it very peaceful to be near the ocean. Even though I have never done it at night, doesn't mean I wouldn't. So if I had the opportunity to do this, you could be capturing me looking just like that. Is this a reflection of a spirit? As this camera points into this bedroom, suddenly we will see a figure come into the mirror. It looks like it's watching us and looking at us before it darts back to the right side and disappears. Is this a ghost? Is it a spirit? What are we seeing here? Even zooming in, it looks so realistic. When we enhance this image, we see it actually affects the shadowing on the bed and that dresser. So instead of it being in the mirror, it looks like it's standing in front of the mirror. But I can't help but wonder if this is just a CG thing, a video effect. This is one of those where it may be too good to be true. Because it doesn't have any sharp edges, I don't think it's a video overlay, but I'm not sure on this one. It's one of those where I'm not convinced it's real, but I don't know how they faked it. So let me know in the comments section below what you think on this one. Is this a poltergeist? The utensils that are hanging on that hook start to move on their own, and then it becomes much more violent and they start to fall off the hooks. Who or what is moving these utensils? How is this happening? I always wonder about hauntings in a kitchen. Like, that's the area where you have to do the most work in the house. Whether you're cooking or doing dishes, baking, it's just always a room where you just have to do the most work. So I hope when I die, I don't haunt a kitchen, because that's definitely signs of me not resting in peace. Like, I always wonder, it's like, are ghosts mad at themselves because they didn't learn how to cook, and maybe they would have had a lot more money if they did learn how to cook? Or is it people who love to cook and love to bake and love to be in a kitchen, and that's who's haunting a kitchen? Or is it just, as I've shown in past videos, the easiest room to use string to create paranormal activity? There are just so many small objects that can be easily moved by a simple string. So all of this activity I know I could recreate with string, which is what causes me to doubt that this is paranormal at all. And I hope they washed the utensils that fell on the floor. Is the chair possessed? So this gentleman is actually burning sage. He is not burning some type of an illicit drug. Sage is used to try to dispel evil spirits. I don't know if it works or not. I just know that that's what he's doing. Now, while he's talking, we suddenly see the chair to his right or left move. He doesn't notice at first that that's happening. He continues to be focused on the sage, and it takes this to get him to notice the chair. A couple of things that I always look for is camera placement. He is not center of the frame even though he's talking to the camera. Why was that chair even in frame? The next thing that I look at is when you are startled, you have a lot of small muscle reflexes, and it's amazing to me that he was able to just set down the lighter and the sage and not drop them or throw them. There was also kind of a slow reflex there in which he didn't even jump until the chair came back down onto the floor. It was making noise while it was being moved around on the floor. And yes, there are medical conditions and substances that can slow down reflexes. I'm not saying that that applies in this case. Maybe I'm being too analytical, but there just seems to be a disconnect for me in the fact that he's not sitting center of the frame of the camera. He was able to set those objects down on the table, not really drop them, and then a slight delay in his reaction to the chair movement. All of these things just make me think it was staged, and maybe there's somebody else in the room that pulled a string that moved that chair. Is there a poltergeist at this residence? Same gentleman, but again, he's still not sitting center frame. Watch what happens behind his left shoulder. First, the cabinet door will pop open, and then a pan on the stove will start to move as well. So he's making sure we can see that pan moving over his left shoulder. That's why he's not center frame. Both of these objects can be moved by somebody pulling a string. Okay, so notice how his hands disappear under the table just before the cabinet door opens and before the pot moves. We don't see his hands again until he jumps up. So in this situation, he's rigged a couple of different strings, tied them under the table, and while his hands were under the table, he pulled those items with a string. Simple magic trick. Is this a shadow person? Suddenly these children run screaming from this room and are incredibly upset. The person with the camera goes towards the room, pans the camera into the left room, and we will see something we are not expecting to see. Suddenly, a dark figure shows up. What was that? Is this a shadow person? Is this a ghost? Is this dangerous? Or is it a person, a costume, an optical illusion, video effects, computer graphics? Why is the footage such poor quality? Why is it so grainy? I'm going to say this is inconclusive just because of how grainy the footage is. Is this a cryptid? So this time we're in a car and we have a cell phone that is recording and a high lumina flashlight. So the flashlight is doing a great job of really lightening up this area. And then it lands on a creature, bipedal, running towards them. It's like it was squatted down and then it jumps up into the air and then starts running towards them. It's really a creepy creature. Zooming in and slowing down is not helping us clarify what we're seeing. So I don't know if they've actually captured a real creature or a person in a costume. Even changing the color doesn't really enlighten us that much on what we're looking at. So this is another clip that is just inconclusive. It's too grainy to tell. What is this ghostly figure? It appears we're looking outside along a fence and we see something in the trees and the brush. But what is that white object? Is it dangerous? Is it a threat? Is it simply a ghost? Is it a space alien? And the white thing that flew in front of the camera was a bug. So when we zoom in, we do see that it does have the head shape of a human being with glowing eyes. I really like this clip because it's incredibly creepy. But I also think it's a human being in a costume who knows where the camera is at and who is playing with hide and seek with the camera. Which is why this looks so creepy. I think if this was someone that didn't know there was a camera there, it wouldn't be as creepy. Cool clip, but I don't think it's paranormal. What is this creepy creep? Suddenly, we will see movement on the other side of that door and chunks of wood being popped out. What is this creature? Again, this is a security camera pointed at this. Supposedly it's a garage door, but I don't know if it may be a wall to a garage or not, but it's definitely old and with rotted wood. And it's the same creature as in the last video, but those are really skinny arms and hands. The arms and hands kind of remind me of those of a puppet. I don't know if this is like one of those bone costumes. Because of the dark background, we wouldn't see the arm or the sleeve. We would just see the light bone type structure, and that gives that optical illusion of a skinny arm or a skinny hand. So again, it's someone who knows where the camera is and knows how to make a creepy video. What is this shadowy figure? We will suddenly see a shadowy figure run in front of these trees. What exactly is it? Where did it come from? It's incredibly subtle and just momentarily blocks out some of these trees as it goes across in front of them. With this enhanced footage, we can kind of see almost like there's a gas fume that goes in front of these trees. Is that all we're looking at is a mirage of some type? Is there a fuel line in the area? Is this a person in a camouflage suit? And that's why we can't make them out very easily? I'm not sure on this one. What to think? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Is this an apparition? It appears that there is a figure in the background at this cemetery. Then it moves towards the lady that is looking at her cell phone and comes closer to the camera. I can't tell if it is walking in between the gravestones and those crosses that are right there, or if it's a ghost that walks through them. Unfortunately, the footage is very grainy. We can definitely see someone there, but we don't know if it's someone from her investigative team or not. Like right here, I can't tell if that cross disappeared or not. Because if it was a solid figure, the cross that's right there at the lower right corner would have disappeared. But I just can't figure out where that figure walked in relation to that cross. Because it kind of looks like it's blending in with the person. So another creepy video, but for me it's inconclusive because the footage is just too grainy, too blurry to really make out the environment enough for me to say one way or another. This one is definitely creepy though, and if it's real, that woman must be freaking out. Is this a peeper? As the camera pans around this trash building, suddenly we will see the head of a child. Oh my god, it's the scariest thing in the world, it's a child! Run for your lives! Actually, the only thing that's wrong here is if that child is not related to that camera operator, then the camera operator should have called authorities because that could be a missing child or a runaway. But it's not a ghost. This is definitely a pissed off poltergeist. As this individual explores this space, we see a bunch of white chairs, and then all of a sudden, these chairs start moving, seemingly on their own. Initially, they move towards the door, but then they just start piling up. What is going on? Well, if it's a demon, it's a pretty pathetic demon because it's spending all of its eternity taking its aggressions out on plastic chairs. If it's a ghost, then it's a pretty powerful entity because it takes a lot of energy to be able to move all these chairs. If it's a poltergeist, then it didn't do a good job of scaring this guy off. So if we're keeping score, that is 1 point for the ghost and negative 1 point to both the demon and the poltergeist. So this guy, he braves the elements, and now that ceiling light's not powerful enough to move those chairs. But he goes inside the room and he turns on the lights. And lets us see by panning around the room that there's nobody else there. Now for me personally, the way I would recreate this is I would have taken the string from a couple of chairs that were further back and pulled that string into other chairs that caused this pile up. So that's how I would recreate this scene. If I was a night janitor or a security guard that was bored and wanted to recreate footage like this, that's what I would do. Is that what this guy did? Probably. Because right here, as he pulls back out of the room, the camera and his body is moving a lot, and it's probably because he's pulling on the string. Is this house haunted? We have several clips for this house where objects will suddenly move, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why they're moving. Each of these clips occur on the same day, but spaced out over time. We will start with whatever that black object is in the middle of the floor. I don't know if it's a fabric, a shoe, I'm not sure what it is, but it slides across the floor. After that happens, suddenly one of the pillows that's on the love seat in the lower left-hand corner falls off the love seat. And still, we don't see anybody in the room. For whatever reason, we have a camera in the bathroom, and in the lower right-hand corner, we will see objects start to fall and also fly from the sink. So sometime later, we're still in the bathroom, and then the last of the toothbrushes fall. Now we're in another room of the house when all of a sudden the TV comes on. Again, it appears like nobody's in the room. Camera angle changes. A light we can't see turns on. All the kitchen drawers open, and the ceiling light starts flashing around, and objects start flying out of the drawers. How do I know or suspect that this is all staged? I have security cameras in my house, and none of them are in the bathroom. Typically, only pervs put cameras in bathrooms. The only exception is paranormal investigators trying to capture activity, or people trying to fake paranormal activity. But the telltale for me was this camera being changed. At this angle to capture the TV, we only see 2.5 drawers in the kitchen there. But when the camera angle, that's supposed to be a security camera, changes its angle to capture 3.5 drawers, that was the final straw for me. So each one of these paranormal activities could very easily be faked with using string, except for the TV, in which you're simply off camera with a remote control. What is this thing hiding from them? As these individuals are exploring this abandoned building, they look outside that door and see nothing but a brush pile. However, later in the evening, they may find something else. As the camera pans to the right, we see for a split second something peeping in around that door frame. They think they see something when it pans again, and then they rush over, and you'll see that there's just brush all around it, where nobody could really get into that space because of all this brush. But there is a little bit of wiggle room in there. So let's zoom in. On the left hand side of that door frame, you'll see something peeking around the frame. It's a lighter color that blocks out some of that darkness in the background. What is that? Could it be a bird? It looks like a profile of a head with dark hair, and it's facing downwards. Do you see the nose? Now it looks like we see part of the shoulder or part of the body. This is one of those where I could see how it could be faked, but I think it might be real. This is just creepy. So throughout this clip, we will see the camera operator's breath because of how cold it is. So don't confuse the fogginess of the breath as part of the paranormal. As he has this camera pointed into this space, we will suddenly see a pot fly across the room. Who or what threw that pot? Is it a ghost? Now we backed out of this space and we're going to look through a window over in the side of this building. And initially it doesn't look like there's anything there. But then when we go back and we look again, on the other side of those slats, it looks like there's a figure in there. Then it disappears. When we zoom in, we can see it a little bit more clearly. It almost looks like Yoda or Shrek. This time we even see the hand. What is this thing? My guess is that it's somebody living and in a costume, and the same person threw the pot earlier. It's not every night that you come across a knight in shining armor. So for whatever reason, we have a flashlight and we're walking outdoors in a field with trees, and I have no clue where we're at, but all of a sudden we will come up to and see some figure in the distance. We freeze with the light on that figure. Who is it? What is it? Why are they there? This is one of those where I would not assume it was paranormal, and I would assume that they have some type of weapon, and I would actually start hauling my rear end out of the area. Because in this scenario, the living is much more dangerous than a ghost. So either our camera operator doesn't have a survival instinct, or they're in on this hoax, this prank, and it's all staged. My guess is they're just trying to create some type of a creepy footage film. Maybe they're trying to become filmmakers, or they're just trying to get viral views. It's hard to say, but it's definitely just a person in a costume that has, I can't tell if that's an axe or a shovel, but either way, in real life, if this was a real situation, you run from it. You don't follow it. Although I have to laugh and wonder if the figure in the costume was waiting for someone to come along with a flashlight so he could find his way home. He was probably looking down at a flashlight going, "Man, my flashlight went out. I need to get home. Oh, thank God this idiot has showed up with a flashlight that has a very powerful beam. Now I can transverse all these rocks and go home." Sorry, now I'm just creating a dialogue for this film. Ooh, brave stance. Yes. Don't forget, for drama, we must have the conqueror's pose. Work it, baby, work it. What is this ghostly figure? So the camera operator is switching between the guitar player and the gentleman on the left who is singing. Apparently the space that they're in isn't allowing him to continuously keep both of them in frame. Then we have the camera go exclusively on the guitarist before it swings back to the singer, and there's a ghostly figure behind the singer. Is this staged? Now, once we swing back to the singer, there's nobody behind him. It appears that that is a sliding glass door and that there is a balcony or a deck out there, but it doesn't really explain what that figure is. So it would be easy to put some type of a costume on and go stand out there, but I don't know if that's what's happening or not happening. But I did find it suspicious that he was exclusively pointed at the guitarist before he swung fully over the singer. That split second of time when that window was not in frame could enable someone to move from the side over there. And then when the camera goes back towards the guitarist, they're able to move out of frame. And what you didn't see at the beginning of this frame is that the singer actually had the camera initially and handed it over to the camera operator. So was this all planned? I'm not sure on this one. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Is this another ghostly beeper? As this camera is pointed at this doorway, suddenly we will see someone peeping around the doorframe. It appears the camera is on a stationary tripod. The blue flash that we see is actually editing. They edited the footage to include this like blue flash. I don't know why. This guy looks like the guy from the previous clip. Again, this is something that you can easily put on a costume and just fake this, but I don't know if it's fake or not. Is this table possessed? So the stage is set to try and capture paranormal activity, and right off the bat we have a moving table. Unfortunately, I do not know if there's anybody else in the building or in this room. I do like this setup of using a mirror and then using candles like a runway, and then maybe a trigger object in front of it. So we have the mirror acting as a portal, and then maybe A strong entity came through that portal and right into that table. Problem that I have is that it is so easy to recreate that activity by simply using string. It appears like this guy was leaning down or squatting down and then kind of jerked up when the table started moving. So his jerky motion of getting up quickly does make me think that at least he was not aware that that table was going to move. So it may be real, but I still can see how it could be faked. Is this door possessed? As this gentleman walks down these stairs, suddenly the door in front of him will open, seemingly by itself. So what caused those doors to open? Was there a vacuum where some other doors were opened? Was string used? Is there someone on the other side of those doors that just swung them open, pranking these two on this side? I'm not convinced this is paranormal, simply because a similar situation happens in the next clip to these same guys. So in another space of this building, we come across another door that is moving the cat ball at the bottom and opening at the same time. This is from the same guys as the previous clip. Now the door itself is causing the cat ball to light up. But it just seems odd to me that they captured the same activity in two different areas. Are these investigators a magnet for possessed doors? Or are they just really good at rigging doors to open on their own? What do you think on this clip and the previous clip? Are these investigators legit? Or are they faking this stuff? What is this shadowy person? These girls are suddenly startled by a shadow that wanders off into this back room. Just as the camera pans around, we see a dark shape disappear around the corner of that wall. Who is it and what is it? The backstory on this is that the teenage girl that's holding the camera decides to go scare her sister by taking the camera in it and catching her sister dancing. One of them sees a shadow, which causes them to dart into this other room, and then we see the shadow being captured. Is it all staged? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. What is this ghostly figure? We suddenly will see a ghostly figure walk from the center of the screen to the left of the screen. What is that thing? It appears that it is a windy day and potentially a rainy day. So is this simply rain that is being blown by the wind, but it gives that ghostly image? If that's bugs and not water that's streaking across the screen, then it might be a ghost. But if it is raining, then I just think that's wind pushing rainwater around. There might be a danger worse than that ghostly figure happening. If that is rain streaking across the screen, then that's horizontal rain, which is indicative of a tornado. Is a possession happening or something else?
Holy! Monsieur!
The door suddenly slams shut, separating the adult from the child. Is the house haunted? Is a possession occurring? Or could this be telekinesis? Is the child upset about being told to go into the bathroom and brush their teeth? And that results in this child slamming the door shut in their parents' face because they're angry? Or is it a simple case of someone was hiding behind the door and slammed the door shut? Is a prank being played on the adult? Or did the adult actually pull the door shut themselves? I'm truly not sure on this one. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Is a poltergeist causing this activity? As this person explores this abandoned building, he will suddenly turn around and the door on this cabinet flies open. Could uneven or unstable floorboards cause that cabinet door to open? If he rigged it with a string, he would have had to wrap it around something to get it to go in that direction. Could the cabinet itself or the hinges on the cabinet be unstable? This is one of those where I wish I was there so I could examine that cabinet. So for me, this one is inconclusive. He continues to explore, but as he goes into this room, a reflection is caught in the window. Did you see it? We can see the outline of his own body underneath the light, but then something else crosses in front of that window. What is that? It gives the profile of a person that has bangs. I do not know if that window goes to the outside and is on a first floor or has a balcony for someone to be on the outside just walking by. I don't know if that window opens up to another room and somebody is walking by on the other side of the window. Based on the fact that the light source is the camera, it does appear like it's happening in front of the camera. But the more that I look at it, I'm not convinced it's a reflection. I think it might be on the other side of the window. There is definitely something there. I just don't know what it is. Is a poltergeist moving these objects? A pot in the lower right hand corner starts to roll. Then we will see a dark shadow pass from the left to the right in front of those objects at the back of the room, moving them as it passes. They continue to move and shift as if something is still pushing on them. What was that dark shadow, and what is causing these objects to move? So it does not appear that the window is open and a breeze blew through that window and moved any of those objects. It's possible that the way that they rigged some string or wire could have moved those objects. They could have even drilled a hole in the wall right there to move those objects in such a weird way. The shadow person could simply be a CG effect or from a shadow outside of the house. My rule of thumb is if there's too much activity, it's probably staged. Is this a cryptid? As these individuals are exploring this cave, they will suddenly come across a creature. What is this thing? Is it dangerous? Is this a threat to them? They start to retreat and try to escape this thing. Even though the head shape is weird and unusual, it has all the movements of an alligator or crocodile. It's possible something is stuck in its teeth, and that's what's dangling on the side of its mouth. It also at one point kinda looks CG. It's definitely scary and they need to run. But at this point right here, to me it looks like the shadow is off. That's why I'm thinking it might be CG. Like the whisker that's on its right side, it's not really showcasing a shadow. So I feel like they might have missed that. With the light source where it's at, the shadow just seems like it's in the wrong place and the nose is not rounded enough. So when the creature first appears there, it looked like a real alligator and they just put something on its head to give it this odd shape. See, the shadow seems off here, but then in the next scene right here, where's its teeth? Alligators and crocodiles have very distinctive teeth. So I don't think this is a cryptid. I think they might have had an alligator or a crocodile that they pretended like was chasing them, but they added some CG effects to it. Either way, it's off. Yeah, I mean, it's a toothless alligator with a weird head. If it's not CG, then it may be an unknown reptile species. But I feel like that would have gone viral and a whole bunch of zoologists would have weighed in on that. So I don't know that I'd call it a cryptid. What are your thoughts on this one? Is this a shadow person? As the camera points towards the doorway, suddenly we see a shadow walk through the doorway. Is this paranormal or a living person? The footage is really grainy, so it's really hard to tell exactly what we are looking at. It does appear like something's there and it's not a CG or video effect. I don't think it's a play of the light or shadows. Zooming in, enhancing the video, changing its color is not helping. I'm labeling this one as inconclusive. What is this shadowy figure? As we walk through this building, we will suddenly see some type of figure or movement behind the door. It's really hard to see, but I've slowed the video down and we can see something back there. By increasing the brightness of the video by 1,000-fold, we do see that there's some type of shape there behind the door, but it's a weird shape. Is it some sort of a lens flare? Is it some sort of a glitch in the camera? Is it a video effect CG, something of that nature? Because right here, that is such a sharp line. That just kind of makes me wonder if it's some type of a CG, overlay masking, video effect. I'm not 100% convinced it's real. What do you guys think on this one? Is it paranormal or something else? Did a ghost cause this light to fall? As we look at the wall and the ceiling, we will suddenly see the light fixture on the ceiling start to fall. What caused it to fall? Was it just loose and with some type of a vibration in the house, whether it's a door that was slammed, a train going by, or a plane going by, or some other vibration caused by walking on the floor above? Did that loosened bolt cause it to fall? Is it simply a mouse chewed on wires, and that's what's caused this mess? This type of issue just does not strike me as paranormal. This is just a installation malfunction to me. These blinds possessed? As the camera is pointed at this door, odd things will start to occur. First, a dog will show up and start looking out that door and out that window in that door. Then the blinds will adjust. They'll move up, they'll move down. They will just change their angle to where you can see outside, and then they'll change the angle so you can't see outside. They will not only open up, but they'll also roll up to where the blind is no longer blocking the window. So we know because the dog is interacting with the blind that it really is happening, so it's not a CG or video effect occurring. At times, it seemed like the dog was excited about somebody being out there and would wag its tail. Did they simply run the string through the door and are pulling the string through the door, and that's what's changing things? Or are they in the inside of the house and using a string? Obviously, most blinds, you use a string to open them and pull them up out of the way. So I just wonder, is this just an extension of that? Because we actually don't see the top of the frame where a lot of that pulley system is actually located. But I feel like because the dog keeps looking outside, the human being is outside. It seems to me that someone is just right outside the door there, and that's what the dog is looking at. So I'm going to label this as staged. What is this ghostly figure? It looks like someone is walking up the stairs, but there's such a vague figure that we can't really make them out all that well. The way that this first person turns sideways, it does seem like somebody walked by them and they made room for them. I feel like this might be just a camera glitch and there's actually someone there, but the camera is just not picking that person up. I'm not sure on this one, but it seems odd to me. If this is supposed to be a security camera, why is it so low to the ground? What is this mystical light? As the camera pans from the left to the right, we suddenly see a mystical light in the center of our frame. What is that? Is it a spiritual being? Is it a ghost? Is it an angel? Is it a god? Is it a lens flare? Is it CG or video effect? Is it a camera glitch? It has this weird movement to it, like it's a piece of clothing that's hanging on a clothesline and blowing in the wind just a little bit. But I don't think this is real. I think this might be some type of a CG effect. The movement is just bouncy, like they cut and paste and couldn't get the timing right. But I'm not sure. It's odd enough to be real. Is this a ghost? As we watch this footage, we will suddenly see a ghostly figure show up in the distance behind that car, and then it disappears. I know everyone tries to label videos like this as ghostly and real paranormal. Unfortunately, it's just a case of a bad camera that doesn't have the range to pick that up clearly, and all that is a human being walking in front of a crappy camera. Is this a ghostly figure? As the camera is pointed towards the street, on the right hand side, we will suddenly see a figure that looks like they're holding a flashlight, but then again, they turn into this ghostly mist. This is a camera that's IR sensor is not reaching far enough to provide all the light needed to capture that image. It is also an issue of just static cameras not picking up everything, and potentially a data mesh issue. Either way, it is a human being carrying a flashlight walking down the sidewalk. It's a ghost clocking out. When the camera points to the left, we will suddenly see the hands on the clock start to spin counterclockwise. Is this clock malfunctioning? So, what if there's a hole in that wall covered by the clock, and someone's on the other side of that wall reaching in with their hand through that hole and just turning those dials or those hands on the back side of the clock? Look at the towel, and to the left side of that towel. Doesn't that look like a hole behind there? Is it possible they tried to poke the hole from the other side and messed up and put it too high to reach the dial to spin those hands? It's possible this clock is just possessed, but I can also see how I could recreate that. Is this a peeper watching this guy? As this gentleman is walking by this house, in the window on the ground floor far right of our screen, suddenly a white figure appears in that window. I feel like we have a couple of things. This first one, that right there, is a lens flare. And then I'm not sure on this one if there's a bug flying by or if this is a lens flare as well. Or is it a combination of both? So this time I'm going to slow it way down so we can maybe see what's going on, because we get a lot of jerky footage that's pixelating out of focus when it's slowed down too. So I don't know if they've added some type of a video effect to cause all this glitchiness and pixelization, or if it's just a crappy camera. The combination of the cameras not being held steady, possibly they're using some type of a video effect that's causing this pixelization jumping issue, lens flare, bugs zooming by, or it's a ghost. Too inconclusive for me. What is this creepy figure? Suddenly we see a figure on the right side of our screen walking towards the left side when it disappears completely. Again, this is just a camera glitch where sometimes when these static cameras are just stationary, they don't always pick up everything that's moving because they're so focused on showing nothing that's moving for so long that it'll just glitch out like this. It's a weird, like, data mesh, IR sensor issue combination thing. I don't know why it happens or the full technology on it, but you can go watch Corridor Crew and their debunking videos, and they're VFX artists, so they can teach you more about what causes that. And the way this guy is walking, it's either the bad camera or he's drunk. I'm not sure which. What is causing this freaky face to appear? It appears that there is a face looking out at us, but when the door is opened, and the light is turned on, it doesn't look like anybody's there. By freeze framing, we can see 3 potential places where someone could hide, and then when the lights are turned off, they just pop right back out and we see them again. The camera angle not being centered also stands out to me, as this is the best angle to catch this figure. But now he's going to try and open the door really quickly and catch it, but watch his right hand come in front of the camera and block the camera. Look at that. If you're trying to prove that that's a ghost and not a human hiding, why did you just block the camera with your hand? So this is what you don't do when it comes to trying faking paranormal videos, is don't stick your hand out there blocking the camera. Is a poltergeist causing this activity? Suddenly the branches on that plant start to move by themselves. It startles the man so much that he jumps over the desk and flees from the room. I don't fully understand what startled this man so much that caused him to flee. We're talking about some branches on that plant moving seemingly by themselves, right? Now, granted, that much movement in a plant would not be caused by a vent blowing on it. But my first reaction is earthquake. Earthquake would elicit that type of a run, jump, get to a safe place. But it seems to me like the security camera might be moving. But I'm not sure if it's one of those situations of, is the security camera moving, or is it somebody holding a cell phone to the security camera monitor? If the security camera is definitely moving, then it makes sense what we're watching is an earthquake. In a smaller earthquake, not everything gets jostled around. Or I should say, in a small earthquake that's not very high on the Richter scale, 2 or 3 would cause this type of movement, but not shake everything. So I don't know. This is just one of those weird ones that, it just almost like he's overreacting to something, but I don't know if he is or isn't. What do you think on this one? Leave a comment below. Who or what is chasing this motorcyclist? This motorcyclist has a camera behind him, and someone is racing after him on foot, chasing him, trying to grab him, and maybe even attack him. Fortunately, he's able to get away. But what prompted this? Is the person that's doing the chasing actually the owner of the motorcycle? Obviously, this is not paranormal, but it definitely is creepy, that's for sure. I would not want to be in that person's shoes. Either one of them. The one on the motorcycle or the one chasing the motorcycle. Do not do this at home. Sometimes when you click on creepy videos, they're not always paranormal. In this case, this guy decides to go across this bridge during a flood. The weight of the cyclist and the motorcycle itself could be just what is needed to finally knock this bridge down. Just that extra weight with all that rushing water, and that's it. And you're basically dead. If you fall into this water, you're not going to survive. It is traveling too fast, and there's too much other debris in that flooded water that you're going to get tangled up in. I am truly convinced the number one cause of death worldwide is stupidity. Chosen stupidity, not born with a mental defect. choosing to be stupid like this. This is stupid. There's nothing smart about this. When you're on one side of this bridge and you see that you can't see the entire length of a bridge, why would you even take the chance? Because it's not like there's a ton of room for him to turn around in. I know there's adrenaline junkies and all of that other stuff, but this is just suicidal. And honestly, I really wish that we could put chosen stupidity on death certificates so that we could prove that the number one cause of death globally is chosen stupidity. And this would be an example of chosen stupidity. Please don't ever do anything like this. You're totally underestimating the power of water. Water has been used to move things for centuries. It's been used for electricity. It's still being used for electricity, water power, electricity. It's such a powerful force. Don't take these type of risks. Please just be careful and just don't admire or respect any of this because it's just stupid. Is this a shadow person? As these girls are running through the house, there is suddenly on the left hand side a shadow person. Were you able to see it? Let's slow it down and stop it right here. Going up the stairs or on the other side of the staircase looks like a shadow person. This is one of the things I hate about debunking videos, is that so often we have the grainy footage that is horrible and we can't tell what we're looking at. But then when you get good footage like this, then I'm like, well, is that a CG thing? Because that is so clearly a shadow person, but is it a real person just in a costume? So I feel like it really doesn't matter one way or another. We're always going to question this unless we see it ourselves. But now all I can do is question these girls and ask, how could you not have seen it? It's so obviously right there in front of your faces. Why didn't you suddenly stop, shriek, scream? But you have no reaction to that dark figure there? Why? Which kind of makes me think, okay, it's probably a CG or a video effect or something staged. What is this woodland creature? As we're going through this woodland forest, the camera will pan up and suddenly capture something, but then, what is it? What is that little thing? Whatever it is, he decides not to stick around. So we zoom in and slow it down. Even with freeze frame, it's hard to tell what that creature is. My guess is most likely it's CG. It doesn't look like it's fitting into that leafy environment quite right. Is this cable possessed? Suddenly this cable will start to move around. What's moving it? Who's moving it? What's going on? This is exactly what cats do. They'll go underneath a space like that and start just patting and petting and grabbing anything that might move that they can turn into a toy. And a cable is no different than a string to them. So my guess is you got a cat underneath that television stand. Or you have a ghost cat underneath that television stand. Is this pillow possessed? On the right side of our screen, we will suddenly see a pillow on that couch start to move. Is this simply gravity? Now the camera rotates over towards the pillow. The camera seems low for a security camera. Is someone operating the camera? Is it simply on a tripod and somebody moved it? Because if somebody moved the camera, then they could be using a string to pull on that pillow, because the pillow is moving in the direction of the camera. So is someone just simply standing behind the camera with a string? Or is this something more sinister? I'm not convinced this one is paranormal, most likely staged. Sometimes it's invisible, other times it's camouflaged. The camera stops and starts focusing right at these trees, and we see some type of movement that's humanoid, but it's almost like that movie Predator, where it's distorting its environment, but it's not crystal clear what it is. Is this someone just attempting to recreate the movie Predator and that special effect that was used? Or is it some type of a spirit or demon, specter, whatever you want to call it, that's wandering around these woods? Is it an unknown cryptid? Well, I've tried to improve the quality of the footage, but I still can't tell exactly what this thing is, so I'm gonna rule this one as inconclusive. Is this some sort of a witch that can teleport? As these people wander through these ruins, they will suddenly go into what appears to be a cave, and when they enter it, they suddenly will see a woman. They say hello to her. She doesn't react, she doesn't respond. It looks like she's just there praying at a shrine. They decide to leave and they go back in the direction that they came from. OMG, run, it's a butt crack. Sorry, I was not expecting that. When they come out, they have a discussion about this person that was back in there, and that's why he said, let's get out for a few minutes. The girls decide to go first this time and go see what's going on. And when they get to that same area where he saw the woman standing at what looked like a shrine, the girls say, well, she's gone. Once again, they decide to leave, and there she is right in front of them, blocking their exit. Is she a nun? Is she a widow? It's possible this cave has a circle, and she circled around to the exit, or it has another exit, and she circled around to it. It's definitely creepy, but I don't think it's a ghost or paranormal. Is there more than just this building abandoned? As this camera is rolling and we're shown this abandoned building, there are actually weird noises that are actually happening as well, but they sound more like a soundtrack to me than anything real. But as he gets up here, there's a doorway on the left-hand side where it looks like something with eyes is peering out at him. Let me know what you think on this one. It's very brief and very subtle. I've slowed the footage down as well as zoomed in. See those little lights there? I'm not sure if they're eyes or if that's a window and we're just looking at city lights on the outside of the building. I wish that we had a better visual into that room. I'm not convinced it's paranormal. Is this a spirit at Stonehenge? So they did discover in the past, I don't know, 2 decades, that Stonehenge has a lot of bodies buried around it. So they speculate that a lot of rituals occurred here. So knowing that, is this that we're about to see, this white spectral thing, is it a ghost from one of those rituals? Did they actually sacrifice human beings here? Or is this simply a camera glitch caused by the angles and the shadows and the light? Is it simply a person that when they're in the light, they're kind of washed out, but then when they step into the shadow, they kind of become camouflaged? So, would a dark gray color being worn create that type of effect? Because it suddenly appears, I'm thinking it might just be real. Is this a flying ghost? We see a lady dressed all in white standing on the side of the road. It appears that she has long dark hair. Her back is to us, which is why we can't see her face. And as the car goes by, it looks like she was facing downwards. Now she's flying. She lifts straight up into the air. Where is she going? How does she do this? Her motion is just so effortless, graceful, and beautiful. And now, as she returns to Earth, her dress billows around her. Did she get rejected at the pearly gates and is forced to return? Or is this just a staged hoax in which this dress and wig is draped around a balloon that is being tethered and controlled? The way that she sways when cars go by her does give me the impression that she's already hanging before she starts hanging. So I do think this is a hoax or staged. I'm just not sure if they're using balloons or some type of string and hanger mechanism. But either way, I'm not convinced it's paranormal. It's cool and creepy. Is this water cryptid an unknown species? So we have a bird and a large skinny thing. The bird literally will stop and sit on this thing as if it's a bench. So is this some type of a log and that's why the bird tries to sit on it? Or is it an unknown species? When I was in third grade, I had to write a report about an anaconda. So when I see this image of this round, skinny object, all I see is a snake, an anaconda. This is one of the largest reptile species. If I recall correctly, I think these things can get up to like 30 feet. They spend a lot of their time in water, and they're just absolutely huge beast. So when I look at this, I'm looking at something where, is it trying to mate? Is that what those circular rings are around it, where it's actually trying to mate? Or is it actually in the process of attacking something underwater? I do suspect that it might be mating, and that's why it's moving in such an odd manner. When they mate, they will literally twine around each other. The other thing that could be happening is it's struggling and it's dying, and that's why it's moving in such a weird way. And maybe that bird is just being taken advantage of the situation. But either way, I'm not convinced it's an unknown species. What is this black ring-shaped cloud? As the camera points skyward, we see a cloud that is just a black circling ring. Did space aliens cause this? Is this the beginning of a black hole? Did a spaceship cause this? Actually, this is a normal phenomenon that happens around the world. Typically, it happens when there's an explosion of some sort. It's all in the heat from the explosion versus the coolness of the atmosphere, and the wind blowing in just the right way can capture the smoke from the explosion and create these ring clouds. But it's actually smoke, not a cloud. So before you see one of these, you may have heard the explosion. Is this a cryptid? Just like that, we see this unusual creature that has a tiny body, a larger head. There is a guy that is inside of that, what are they called, blinds? And he's looking out through a little window and he sees this thing. But what is this thing? It kind of reminds me of a curious monkey. Kind of like this hairless monkey. I can't help but wonder if that's just CG, if it's just, putting a skirt on a monkey and then painting this monkey a greenish color. This is one of those where when I look at the footage, I feel like something's off. Like the background is too dull versus this creature. I don't know. What do you guys think on this one? Is a spirit stalking this lady? In the foreground, we see this lady speaking to the computer, but behind her, something walks by. She turns her head quickly to see what that was because she saw it in her monitor. Now she gets up to go see what just walked by. Could this just be a shadow from somebody walking by outside? Could it be a camera glitch where it's just simply not capturing the full body of somebody that walked by? It doesn't really look like a shadow because it does look like it's a 3D something, but at the same time it still kind of looks like a shadow. I'm not sure. Okay, so she gets up from the desk there and goes over and looks to see what's going on. She comes back to her desk and continues her conversation. It appears that she's going to take her camera and show us something, but all of a sudden, things get crazy. You had me at possibly real right up until you do the jump scare. And that image is so obviously cut and paste that it just stands out as fake. Nice try though. I do appreciate it. And really good acting too. Are these spirit orbs? As the camera is pointed towards this bed in this bedroom, we see this light bounce in and out of frame. Are these spirit orbs? Is it a bug? Is it reflection from something metal that's being hit by the sun? And it's being blown by the wind like a wind chime? Is it a cat toy? This looks to me like it's spider webs. The web is reflecting some light that's coming from behind the camera, and the spider is just incredibly busy. And that's why it's bouncing so much. What caused this object to fall over? So it looks like somebody is using their cell phone to point at a security camera footage, and towards the bottom right of the screen, we will suddenly see something fall over. I'm not exactly sure what this item was. It does look like Gravity 1. Unfortunately, the footage is just too grainy and too unstable for me to tell for sure what fell over and what exactly is going on. So this one is inconclusive. Is this cross possessed? On a wall at the bottom of the staircase, there's a bunch of crosses. However, one starts moving, and it's starting to move away from the wall while turning at the same time. I don't know if this is paranormal. What I do know is that this is easy to recreate using a string and just pulling that string while being off camera. Is this shadowy figure a shadow person? As we travel through this abandoned building, we travel through this fairly large room and head to a doorway on the left side of the room. The camera stays pointed at the door jamb right up until something is seen, and then they backpedal out of the room. Is this a shadow person? Or is it a living person dressed all in black? Is this staged? A hoax? A prank? Or is this real? One of the things that stands out for me on this video is the zooming into the door frame. This is called an extreme close-up, and it's very common in horror movies because the philosophy is when you zoom in on an object and you completely eliminate an escape path, it causes the watcher to feel claustrophobic or trapped. And you can literally Google extreme close up in horror films and you'll get a bunch of hits on this technique and why they use it in horror films. You will also find videos on YouTube regarding this technique of extreme close-ups. Now, what they should have done, I feel they should have moved the camera to the left from the door jamb over to the left, but they didn't. Instead, they're backpedaling. So I think the shock value would have been if we'd seen this right after being shoved up against that door frame. So I think it lost its horror value because they didn't do that aspect correctly. And until I created this channel, I didn't even know that was a thing in the motion picture industry. But to try and prepare myself for being able to identify things, this extreme close-up is one of the things I've had to learn. So for this clip, I appreciate their efforts. What is this ghostly figure? On the left side of the screen, you suddenly see something come from behind that tree and walk across that field. What is that? Is that a ghost? A spirit? What's going on here? Is there more than one? Did something just pop up in the middle of the screen? I thought that might be a lens flare or something on the lens, but I don't think so. This, however, is just odd. I don't think this is a stationary camera type of glitch. So I'm not sure if this is computer graphics, if it is visual effects, or if it's actual paranormal. Typically, I would label this as the footage is so grainy that it's inconclusive. But then the camera pans to the right and we see more of this type of activity at a slightly different location. So now we have another one that's popped up at the far right, and then all of a sudden a giant one will just pop up and start walking, and now all of a sudden we have a field of these things. So I feel like this is one of those where they recorded it twice, once without anything in the field, and then a second time with things, and then they just overlapped them or overlaid them. I don't know what the technical term is, but that's what I think happened with this footage. My rule of thumb is if there's too much activity, it's probably not real. What is this shadowy figure? As we look through this security screen door, we see what appears to be a hooded figure. What was that? So even with trying to enhance the footage or zoom in on the footage, we still get the same exact image. So I will try to explain how this works. These types of screen doors, security screen doors, they not only have the handle, but they also have a deadbolt lock. They not only have the bars that you can see, but behind those bars is a metal sheet. It could be an aluminum sheet, I don't know. But you know how you take and punch holes in paper? Well, that same size hole is actually punched into this metal, and it's throughout the entire metal so that you can see out. And when it's sun shining outside and it's dark inside your doorway, they can't see you, but you can see them. Both my grandparents and my aunt had this type of a screen door, and they installed them when I was living with my grandparents. And when you just glance out of these, the person out there can be so distorted that it can just look like a hooded figure without any type of real detail to them. But then when you get closer, you can actually see who they are and what's going on. But from the distance that that camera is from that door, that's an atypical illusion that you will see. So I don't know if this is staged or if they just accidentally caught somebody walking by, but either way, that's not paranormal. So now that you know that you're potentially looking through sheet metal that has a bunch of tiny holes in it, now maybe you can see the distortion that's actually occurring. And yes, it does depend on the angle of the sun coming through that door as to whether you can see more sheet metal or more open space like this. What is this unusual light? We see on the right a very large street light that is distorted by the atmosphere, by the camera, not sure. But then we see this smaller light moving across the ground. What is that smaller light? What is this? Initially, I want to say it's a camera glitch, a lens flare, something of that. But when it dissipates at the end here, that really throws me off, and I don't fully understand what this might be. I don't think it's a CG or video effect. I think there is definitely something there, but I don't know if it's somebody in a costume that has this type of reflective quality. I don't know. What do you think on this one? Leave me a comment below. Is this an angel near this fire? In the center of our screen, we see the fire, and on the right side, it looks like an angel. So it appears to be a controlled fire. But is this one of those fire tornadoes on the right side? So the color is stripped away due to the night vision camera we're using. But when we bring the color back in, this is a picture of a fire tornado. And right in the center of our screen, doesn't the smoke look like an angel? So it's possible that when they did this controlled fire, they inadvertently created a tornado, and the tornado is the smoke that looks like an angel. Because typically you're not going to use night vision for fires because the fire will provide the light. And then we can tell by the way the fire itself is jumping around that there is some additional wind occurring, which is most likely pushing that smoke of that fire tornado closer to the fire and then further away from it. And of course, I have to wonder if night vision wasn't used, would we even be able to see that angelic looking figure? So I feel like this might be just natural phenomenon. I wish it wasn't so grainy because I'd love to have an actual picture of this. Is this a shadow person? So we're using a cell phone, and as we get closer to this window, we see a black figure in that room, but then it disappears. Where did it go? Is this a shadow person? Is it something spiritual, demonic, dangerous? For me to be convinced this is real, when the camera gets to the window, they need to look all the way around that room. Show me all the corners. Show me nothing is hiding there. And because I'm not getting a camera view straight down on the inside of that window, then that tells me somebody's hiding there. Is this man being stalked by the paranormal? As this man sleeps on the blanket, a tricycle with no rider suddenly goes by. Then we cut to the next scene where somebody is on the roof and a bottle on a chair or stool falls off that stool. This wakes the guy up and he finds the bottle, puts it down on the ground, and lays back down. There is still a person on the roof. This time that stool levitates before it falls back down to the ground, confusing the guy that was trying to sleep. He doesn't see anything, but now we still have that person on the roof, and now the chair or the stool is levitated almost to the roof before it falls and wakes the man up. So the man tries to go back to sleep, and this time the blanket attacks him. The bottle falls over. He's wrapped up tight. He can't move. So I think it's safe to say that we've made a really good horror movie, but none of it is real. Is this a ghost in the background? As these ladies are taking a picture, we see over the left shoulder on the right hand side a lady that is standing in the doorway. I never know why this type of situation is ever classified as paranormal. Seriously, so there's a human being standing in a doorway. That doesn't make them a ghost. In my world, that's called a photobomb, where you insert yourself in somebody else's picture. Is this shadow person demonstrating aggression? So we have a pedestrian with a couple of bags in his hands, walking down the street, and a motorcyclist. Both are looking down the street at something that might be there. Then all of a sudden, we see a shadow figure walk into frame and head right towards the motorcyclist. The motorcyclist gets off his motorcycle, shoves his motorcycle towards the shadow person, and he leaves and goes indoors, and then the shadow person runs down the street. This is one of those video overlay type situations where they have filmed it twice, once without that shadow person, and then a second time where that shadow person is the only one there, and he walks right towards that motorcycle, but then they blur out the image of the actual living person. And they change that living person into this black blob by increasing the transparency. So if I take my logo and I increase the transparency, reduce the brightness, and flip the image, now all of a sudden you have just a little bit of what was there. I can add a mask, and now you can't tell what was originally there, which is what they've done with this image. Just editing tricks. Did a poltergeist cause this activity? So we see one employee working in this kitchen. As we zoom in, we will suddenly see something bounce from the right to the left to the floor. It is some type of a pan or dish or bottle, I can't really tell. It looks to me like that's actually an open walkway right there. I don't know if there's a drive-through window and they just tossed that item through the window because they were mad about something. But because I can't see around that corner, I'm not totally convinced this is paranormal. I feel like somebody tossed that. It didn't just fall. Who or what is invading this office? This office door slowly opens, apparently by itself. Then on the desk, suddenly a monitor turns on. It flashes a couple of times, then turns off. Who or what opened that door? Who or what turned on that monitor? Is this a hoax? Is it a prank? Is it staged? Is it a ghost, spirit, demon? Well, it could be a vain demon or a vain ghost, because I think they're taking a picture of themselves. This one is definitely unique in that we have that flashing light attached to the monitor. But is that system set up to a remote where someone has a remote and is just hitting buttons? And they're standing under the camera next to the door, and they're the ones that opened up the door too. I'm not sure on this one. I'm not convinced it's paranormal, but I'm not exactly sure how they turned on the monitor and got the flashing lights unless they definitely have that set up on a remote. What do you think on this one? Leave me a comment below. Did a shadow person open this door? So a person is laying in bed, and the closet door in front of them starts to open, and they pan the camera to the right instead of staying on that closet door. And now we see it's fully open, and it looks like just behind that door jamb, there's a shadow person. So with zooming in, we can see a little bit more clearly a shadow person is standing there and moves away. So I guess if I was startled, I probably would, point the camera away so that I could see with my naked eyes. But then you bring the camera back, and that just makes it feel like kind of a stage or setup situation. So we know with most closets, there is a space that's right there on the right-hand side that could be someone just hiding there. So there's enough room between that window and that door frame to actually hide a human being. So this could be legit and real, but it's just way too easy to recreate, and because of that, I'm just skeptical. Is this basement haunted? In this basement, we will see multiple objects being moved. We will start in the upper right-hand corner. A cabinet door will just suddenly open. Then on a different day, there will be a small black object sitting on the table, and it will suddenly slide off the table. It appears to slide before it falls. On the left side in the middle, there's a microwave, and the door keeps opening and closing multiple times. When it closes, it doesn't look like it's closing completely, which means that it can easily be reopened. Before we get into the final clip, it is possible all three of these clips are paranormal. And it's just as possible that it is a strain. The first three clips did not happen on the same day. They happened over a span of a month. This footage is old, probably more than a decade old, and it's grainy. I don't understand why nothing in this room is not in focus. The camera's stationary, so why is it not in focus? So it seems to me like it is purposefully grainy. So most likely the first three are staged. I don't know exactly how to describe this last clip. The initial shadow that was closest to us before it goes up to the wall is the most interesting to me. Somehow it crosses the floor towards us before it goes up around the wall and ceiling, away from us. It even blocks out the reflective lights on the television and furniture. So I want to see if I can take this image here, run it through their room to create a similar effect. So I decided to experiment with two different images, my little blotched oval there, and then the skull. So all I did with the oval is just do a left to right animation, and the animation itself will cause it to phase out. Then I made multiple changes with the skull to get it to be darker, a little bit transparent but not much, and the animation. So the first step on the skull was to reduce its brightness. Initially I increased the opacity too much and made it too see-through, so I had to reduce that opacity before adding the animation. So do we have a practical effect in which someone is walking off camera in front of a light source, which is creating the shadow effect? Or is this some type of a CG thing with an editing trick combined? I'm not that good at any type of computer graphics or visual effects. I can do some editing tricks, and I showed you the extent of my skill in this video. But regardless of if I can recreate it, I do have confidence that there are video effects artists that can recreate that. I just don't know if that's what was done or if this is paranormal. What do you think on this one? Leave me a comment below. What's causing these keys to rattle? The camera is pointing at some keys that are hanging next to this door. Then it will show a Ouija board before it goes back to looking at the keys hanging by the door. And then suddenly, these keys start to move, ever so slightly. But what's causing them to move? Is it a ghost? Did they contact something with the Ouija board? Or are they using a string to gently move those keys? This one is so subtle that I can see how it could be paranormal. But at the same time, I could see how I could rig a string and recreate the exact same effect. What is this shadowy figure? In the lower right, we will see something cross in front of the camera. I can't tell exactly where we're at and what type of room or space we're looking at. I don't know if we're looking at a table, a floor. I'm not sure what we're looking at. The footage is a little too dark and too grainy. I think this is just an atypical bug walking very quickly across the camera lens. I don't think there's anything physically in the room impacting that space. I think it's just on the lens. I wish the footage was better. Is this man haunted by a ghost or stalked by a person? We saw a similar clip between these two in our last video. This apparently is a continuation of that on a different day, different time, different place, different location. Once again, we have the one guy on the ground sleeping, the other guy up on the roof stalking. I don't know if they're trying to make a horror movie, or if this is a studio making a horror movie. I'm not sure what's going on. I do appreciate how clear this footage is and how good this footage is. That tells me they have a pretty good camera for night vision purposes. He keeps looking for noises. So now we move on to the next clip, and he's on this lower roof, and apparently he's dropping things down onto the guy. So this creature on this smaller roof goes from being transparent to solid. And it drops this wrapping around this guy's shoulders. And the guy collapses. If you get hit on the back of your head and neck, you should face plant with your head facing us. But see how he very carefully puts his hands down and then he lays down on his back? So we now know that whatever was wrapped inside that blanket was probably straw, and that whole thing probably only weighed about 2 pounds. And that reinforces our belief that it is staged. And as far as the guy being invisible, I think that's just editing tricks. Is this an alien abduction? So we have a dog, some snow, and some woods, and the dog does what dogs do, take off running and start sniffing around. But then something behind him gets his attention, and he starts really running down this road. When the camera operator catches up, we see an adult in an orange jacket and a child in a red jacket levitating. Though the child is in the air and reaching towards the ground, the mother was not reaching up. Then the adult and the child take off running. Does the child have some type of special gift? Does the mother have some type of special gift that enables her to levitate her child away from danger? Is this an alien abduction? Or did you see what I just saw, where the camera operator moves the camera away from the scene, and when the scene is brought back, the child is on the ground and the parent is running with the child? So the camera is moving too much for me to zoom in any closer than this. But right here is the part I don't get. You have that phenomenal scene and you suddenly point the camera at the ground. Most likely the child is on some type of a rope or a cable, and this is all staged. What caused this dog to disappear? So as this dog is walking down the street, we know something is wrong with its back left leg because of the way he's moving it when he walks. But all of a sudden, it's like something bit him in that leg and it caused him to pop up and jump around to see what was there. And then at the same time, he disappears. It's possible that he has an open wound on that back leg and one of those biting flies just bit it. And that's why we can't see what happened. And on top of that, we have a camera that glitched out at the same time. So that's what caused the dog to disappear. Is this the face of a spirit? This is actually an urban area, park, or neighborhood that has a lot of woods. So all the lights that you will see have nothing to do with the paranormal. That's just the neighborhood or the urban area that he's in, or suburban area. So this is not a true forest or woods. And this is not an alien abduction thing. But he's just wandering through these woods, just recording. And when he gets back home and he reviews the footage, he sees something very creepy right here. It looks like a vase. Looks spiritual. Looks paranormal. But it's probably pareidolia due to the reflection of all these lights on the leaves. Is a poltergeist pulling a prank? As this man is sitting and looking at potentially a computer monitor, something on the bed behind him moves, and then suddenly the cabinets fly open. Is this caused by an angry spirit? Does he have an enemy trying to get his attention? And what did he turn around and see that caused him to run? Could it be a poltergeist? A loved one wanting his attention? See, I'm not sure if he's being pranked or if he's in on the prank and this is all staged. Did they capture a ghost girl? Flour has been placed on the floor to see if they can capture any ghost footsteps. And it appears that they did. I really like this one, and I really want this one to be real. But I'm not totally convinced it is, but I'm not convinced it's not. It's like when you slow it down and you look at how these footprints are created, they're not being created normally. But it could also be because I've slowed it down. If it's not real, how did they do it? So did they turn off the camera, put a step down, turn the camera back on, turn the camera off again, put steps down? Like, is that how they did it, or is this more video graphics, computer graphics, video effects? Let me know in the comments below what you think. Is this door possessed? Suddenly, the bedroom door will open while the cat on the bed is watching. What's important to notice is that the cat on the bed is not looking at the door, but is looking at the floor by the door. Is there someone laying on the floor outside of the room there, and they just simply push the door open? And that's what the cat is seeing, is someone laying on the floor in that hallway or outside of this room. I've had a couple of clips that I've had to analyze with cats, and I'm here to tell you, if you're a cat owner and you're wanting to fake paranormal, put your cats in a room that's not going to interfere with what you're trying to create, because cats' curiosity, their natural curiosity, and their directional ears will out you every time as staging whatever you're trying to do. The more interesting thing to me on this one was how the light that is shining into that room was distorting the door. I think it's just the glare of the light that's interfering with the camera, but it's still more intriguing than the door opening. Did they capture a ghost girl in this basement? So we're going into a basement of an occupied residence. So this basement apparently contains a bunch of cameras, bunch of tripods, and some type of furniture that's covered with a white sheet. Now that white sheet changes later in this video, but you can see how it's oriented right now. They're moving slowly because they heard a noise and they're not sure what they're going to find. But on the right, a door suddenly slams shut. We're going to repeat this because we can see something is standing right there on the inside of that room. They are not much taller than the doorknob. Okay, the light switch was off in the room, so I'm not sure when the light switch turns on, but when he gets this door open, the light switch is on, or the light is on. So, but at least he immediately goes to the room to try and find whatever closed the door so abruptly. He takes the time to open up the door. We get a full, basically, view of this entire space. However, what we don't get is the ceiling. Could you have dangled something in that doorway so that it would look real, especially when the light was off? And that's why we're not getting a view of the ceiling. She's back, but now she's in this room. Now, it looks like he was about to leave when he hears something and he realizes that furniture has changed, but the girl is gone. The girl was standing right there, but not anymore. So the top right is the original view of this sheet-covered furniture. Bottom left is the final view we have. The change in the draping on the bottom right of that piece of furniture, as well as the top left of that piece of furniture, does look like it's been changed. He's so caught up in this furniture and the change in this furniture that he never even noticed the girl. He walks us around this furniture, but we still can't see much on that backside because of how dark it is. Well, I definitely appreciate him showing us around that space. So the top left is from when we come back out of that room and we're about to wrap up and go back upstairs. The bottom one is when we first come into this space and we start to go to the room on the right. Doesn't it look like she's hanging? There are several things in this one frame that stands out to me. This is after we come out of that room that had all that stuff in it. The furniture sheet is still like it originally was, and the girl is on the other side of the room. So this guy has all these tripods, all this camera equipment. Is he just creating paranormal? Like, is there someone else there? The girl that we saw in the doorway would be hanging from the ceiling. And there's somebody on the right or the left hand side that's down low. They sneak out with the hanging girl. They go put the hanging girl on the other side of the room. And so while he's taking time in here, that other person is getting that ghost girl hanging. Then after he's made us dizzy by spinning in circles, we now are going to go back out into that other space, and the hanging girl is going to be there, but the sheet is not changed yet. So he turns away and looks towards the left with the camera, only to turn back quickly and the sheet is changed. So both the hanging girl, and the person that's helping is most likely hiding behind that furniture, or unless there's a door or a cabinet in that corner somewhere, we still can't see what's going on here. Or rather, it's lighted in such a way that we can't see behind here. But that's also, I think, the key right there, is that it is lighted in such a way. A couple of these tripods do have lights on them. This is another one that I want it to be real, but I think in this case it's been staged. What is this forest figure? As this lady is camped out in the woods, she's keeping her eyes out for anything that might be wandering around in the woods, and suddenly she's captured something. Who or what is that? Is this some unknown creature? Is it a human being playing a prank? Did the lady simply put on a disguise and go walk out there into the woods? Is in the moment that it looks like it's transparent, it's actually camouflaged? Is it a poor light quality of the camera? I believe something really is there. I'm just not convinced it's paranormal. Is there a ghost in this wheelchair? The camera is focused on an individual in the wheelchair being pushed down the street. Now, in a second here, we're going to see this individual stop the wheelchair and get up. So we can see they don't need the wheelchair. However, in a second, the lady actually has to go chase down the wheelchair because it started to roll away. So they may or may not know how to set the brakes on this wheelchair. But in the background, we can see it's still moving. So even though it was set in the dirt, it is scaring them now because it's moving apparently on its own. I think that's just gravity, and those little wheels in the front will cause it to turn sharply, so it doesn't really surprise me that it turns just because of the little wheels. So even though it is creepy, I don't think it's paranormal. Is this a ghost car? As this car comes rolling towards this gate, its lights are flashing and it doesn't look like there's anybody in the front seats, even though the steering wheel keeps turning. The guard comes out of the shack to try and figure out what's going on. The steering wheel is still turning. Then suddenly somebody is crawling on the trunk. It startles him, he falls, and immediately tries to get away. What is that thing crawling on the trunk and the roof of the car? So, that's a person that's on the trunk and the roof. No doubt the guard was startled, but I don't know if he's being pranked or if he's in on this. but I've seen enough Mythbusters to know how easy it is to remote control a car. So I just wonder if this person was sitting in the trunk of the car and just using a remote control to drive the car. I'm not convinced it's paranormal. I think it's more of a prank. Is this grandma dead or alive? As these men walk through this grass, they walk by an old house that might be abandoned. However, it appears there's an elderly lady standing in the doorway. Not only does she appear to be solid, she is casting a shadow. This one is odd to me because I feel like the cameraman is telling the actual story. He pans slowly by the first time, but then when he moves it back across, he's going so fast we can't tell if there's an image there or not. It just seems set up to me. So I don't know if it's a friend helping them, a mannequin, a blow-up doll, or what, but I'm not convinced it's paranormal. Did they capture a shadow person? We will see a shadow go behind her from right to left, but I think that's somebody else she's talking to that moved in front of a light source. So that shadow that goes behind her, again, I don't think that one is anything other than the people in front of her. But we will see another shadow go right to left. But again, I think it might be her shadow that time, or one of the other people's shadow. But I'm not sure because I don't know where everybody's standing. But it does look like they were standing on her left. Now they've moved over to her right. So she's continuing to talk to them. And then the camera will pan in such a way that they will capture something over her right shoulder. They believe that they've got something that has horns and a body. Yeah, I can see what they're talking about for horns. Then you have the head and then you have the body lower down. But I would really like to see what discolorations are in the wall, as well as what shadows can be cast in that area, to know for sure. What do you guys think on this one? Did they capture a shadow person? Let me know in the comments below. Is this lady in white a ghost? As these guys are driving down this dirt road, their headlights will suddenly pick up on a lady wearing a white dress. They stop their vehicle and they decide to get out of their vehicle. But she keeps disappearing on them. So obviously she's going to disappear if you turn your headlights off. And because of the cab lights, their eyes are not adjusted to the darkness, so that's going to cause them to lose her and not be able to see her. So we'll replay just this part where they drive up, and now we're zooming in so you can see her better. It's almost like a forced perspective thing of that's a tiny doll. But now they've gone night vision and with flashlights and their cameras, and they're trying to find her, but they can't find her. But then they see her next to the truck. So when they get closer to the truck, they have changed their light source again to where you can barely see anything. But then they'll suddenly catch something in the dark. How did the lady in white get so close to them? From the point when they decided to turn off those headlights, they lost me. Nothing makes sense. While they were wandering around with flashlights, she very easily could have just walked right up the road and stood by their truck. This just seems staged to me. Is this shadow person a ghost that is watching them? These guys are exploring an abandoned building, and he's just panning his flashlight around when he suddenly sees something in that window. It is a very dark shape. We now see what that glass looks like. It's broken glass, but it almost looks like a Bigfoot head. But behind that was a very dark shadow-like person. I don't know much about these explorers, but I appreciate the fact that they stopped right on that window and tried to figure out what was going on. This is one of those where I'm not sure if it's being staged, hoaxed, or it's a prank, but it might be real. And without being able to go there in person and debunk the whole area in person, I don't know for sure. What do you guys think on this one? Are these guys trustworthy? Can we trust this footage? Are these ghost orbs or insects? So suddenly lights start flying in front of this stationary camera, and they zoom around and change shape and are very distorted. I really think these are bugs that are flying, but you have a combination of too low of light levels for the camera and a problem with the shutter speed, and that's what's causing all of this trailing that you're seeing. So I think it's just bugs. What is this running creature? In this very grainy footage, we see a creature run from left to right. What is it? Could it be a wild boar? Could it be a wild lion? I singled out the boar and the lion because they have that mane, but some dogs also have kind of thicker fur around the head, so it could be a wolf, it could be a coyote. But I'm just not seeing the pointed ears of a wolf or a coyote, so that's why I don't know that that's a dog. But I'm thinking it's more likely going to be a known animal, not a cryptid or an unknown species. Is this the activity of a poltergeist? Apparently this is a stationary camera inside of a laundry room / bathroom. Suddenly the mirror door flies open, knocking something off onto the floor. Then on the right side we will suddenly see something come close to that frosted door, and it appears that it's looking into this room. But what is that white blob? Is this a ghost? A prank? A human? It almost looks like a towel dangling off of a stick, like the broom handle or something of that nature. So I wonder if a string was used to open up that cabinet door, and then I wonder if a towel is being used, and that explains why there's no legs. I'm not convinced this one's paranormal. Whose face is in this window? Two guys are tossing a ball back and forth to each other while a third guy records it. But then the guy on the right suddenly sees something up in a window in a building, and he points to it. The cameraman zooms in, and he suddenly sees a face in the window that steps back away from the window. I don't know why people looking outdoors or looking out windows is immediately classified as paranormal. Even if these guys think that the school is empty or this building is empty, that doesn't mean that there's not a janitor working in there. So I'm not convinced that this is a ghost. I think it could just be a living human being who took a minute to look out the window, but then when he realized he was being watched by a camera, he decided to step back away from the window. I would do the same thing. Is this shadow person stalking this man? This man stands up and he'll close the window. Then he'll turn off the light before opening the door. And we see a shadow person behind him just before the night vision camera kicked on. Now this man goes into his bedroom and he will do the same thing of turning off the light, and before the night vision kicks in, we see a shadow person. In both of these cases, because it's happening when it's switching from the day vision to night vision, I have to wonder if that's part of the problem, or that's what's being exploited. Now I feel like if you put transparent figure on the lens so that it would actually not be seen except for in this transitional stage, that could be what's happening, is simply something has been put on the lens to create this effect. If you're dealing with the same brand of camera, you're going to get probably the similar result that he's getting. So I do think this might be some type of camera trickery. I'm just not sure exactly how it's done. Is that a ghost in the window? The camera is slowly aimed throughout this room and this space. Then it will move to the left and he will start to go downstairs. But on the right, it appears like there's somebody in that window. Was that a ghost? Was it a doll? Is it simply a living person? What's caused the distortion of the face? Is it a mask? Is there something on the window itself? Is it the camera shaking that's causing the distortion? Is it simply a painting? Is it a mannequin? I'm not convinced it's paranormal. What is that figure in the lightning? As the camera is brought back outside, we will see a figure in the flash of the lightning. Is it a living person? Is this something else and it's just distorted to look like a human being? Is it a shadow person? Is it a prank or a hoax? Is it staged? Is it dangerous? This is one of those that is definitely creepy. Is this girl a ghost? The camera is pointed to the ground, but then suddenly the flashlight and the camera will zoom up and face this abandoned building where it looks like there's a person looking back at them, but then they disappear. This one is so easy to recreate that it just comes across as staged to me. You know, they have the camera pointed at the ground and then suddenly they pan up and there she is. But they do that a second time where they pan the camera down, move the flashlight down, and then all of a sudden when they pan the camera back up and the light back up, she's gone. So the cameraman's actions gave this away, in which they just have somebody in a white dress and a dark wig and told to go stand up there, and that's what we end up with. What is this ghostly figure? Now we have a view from a stationary camera that's pointed inside this abandoned building when we see a misty figure walk from right to left. What is that? I love footage like this because I always think it has the greatest potential of being real. And yet at the same time, I know that it can be a video effect or computer graphics, or it could be some type of a light coming in through those cracks from a car driving by that causes that. It could also be a camera glitch like a datamage, where the computer is not sending the full signal. Or maybe it is a shutter speed with an IR sensor issue. But it's footage like this that I always want it to be real. And I hope this one is. Should we be afraid of this snowy figure? As the camera pans around in the snow, multiple times we will get a glimpse of a figure that's almost camouflaged by the snow. In this view, the image can barely be seen. We will see it better in the next clip. I don't know if they're trying to impersonate like a Sasquatch, but it just looks like a person in a winter jacket to me. This next clip shows them hiding behind a tree. They keep peeking around the tree and just being creepy. Of course, the camera operator keeps moving the camera all around, and now it looks like they're walking across a field, but you can barely see it because it's so grainy. Just pixels now. The footage is just too grainy for me to determine if that's paranormal or not. Little lights, green lights, confusing lights. What's going on? We start with a little light in the center of our screen that really is pulsating. It's not really making sense as to what it is. It's not really acting like a bug, but then again, it might still be a bug, but not. It's not acting like a lightning bug, let me put it that way, because lightning bugs, they flash for just a second and then they go dark. Whereas this one had pretty much continuous light, so I don't think it's a lightning bug. Now all of a sudden on the left side of our screen, a bright green light will appear. And I don't know what that is. But then it lights up part of this building. And the camera operator starts focusing on this building. And it looks like two people arguing. So I don't know exactly what's going on in this clip. If anybody knows anything about this clip, please let me know. Because I'm confused about why you would turn a camera away from that green light. Because that green light was the oddity. What's happening in this space here? I don't know. It almost looks like a tent. And a fire is on the other side of the tent. Let me know in the comments section below if you understand what's happening and why they would turn the camera away from that bright green light. Where did this person go? The camera operator was focused on their own child when the child pointed out this person that was running around over here. And then they disappear. So the camera operator, in spite of the grass, runs over and checks and can't find anybody there. They go around the side and even on the back side and they don't find anybody. Are we dealing with an optical illusion where they really did not go into that concrete part but went off to the side and just squatted down? And then when they ran over there, did they just circle that whole area? And that's how they disappeared? But we can see that some of the grass has been pushed down all the way around that concrete wall and has been disturbed. So it doesn't really surprise me if they didn't just lay down and crawl around out of sight of the camera. But there could also be a trap door in there that's camouflaged, and they could have just gone right underneath that whole thing. I'm not totally convinced this is paranormal. Is this a cryptid? This was broadcast on the local news, and apparently this thing is a bird. It doesn't have a normal beak, and yet it opens its mouth really wide. Is it a birth defect or a mutation? I hope that this is a case of somebody at this vet's office or wherever we're at, animal control, is the one that took the footage, because if this is from your news camera footage, this is horrible footage and they need to fire that cameraman because it's still too blurry and grainy. I keep looking at it and thinking, okay, it's kind of a cross between a snake, a lizard, and a squirrel head. It's definitely weird, but the footage is just... I wish we had a better image of it. Even when it's inside the crate, we still don't get a good view of it. Hopefully somebody has figured out what it is, because I have no clue. Is this a shadow person? As the camera points towards this building, we will suddenly see a black figure running towards the left. It almost looked like one of those Among Us guys, as short and round as it was. But let's slow down the footage a little bit and see if we can get a better look at it by freeze framing right there where it seems really short. But yeah, did you see it running off to the left? It doesn't look like an animal that's on 4 legs. It does look like it's standing on 2 or running on 2 legs. I'm sure this could be easily recreated by just throwing some type of a black cloth over you and running, or putting on some type of a black suit like that and running. But it almost looks like a black box. I'm not sure what to think on this one. I'm not convinced it's paranormal though. What is this creature? As these campers are hanging out, suddenly they will see a creature on top of the trailer and start running. What is that thing? It almost looked like a koala bear. So is this a natural creature, native to that environment? Is it CG? Is this a prank, a hoax, or staged? Is it a stuffed animal that's on a rope or a string? Unfortunately, I don't know where they're at to know what the native animals are in that area. And of course, the footage is grainy. I don't know why, but just now the way it moved, that just reminded me of CG for whatever reason. That's the one thing that a lot of rendering artists or video effect artists struggle with, is movement. I'm not convinced it's a cryptid. Is this door possessed, or did a ghost shut it? This paranormal investigator is in an abandoned building when suddenly the door slams shut behind him. It kind of looked like he almost saw something out there, but I guess not. And then all of a sudden that door just slams shut, scaring the crap out of him. And it would have scared me too. Is it possible he could have used a string and pulled that door shut? Yes. Did he do that? I don't know. That jerkiness that you get when you're startled, that's really hard to act. So that's why I kind of feel like this is real, just because of how startled he was. So I don't know if somebody pranked him or if he definitely caught paranormal activity. Is this the notorious Slender Man? We can see off in the distance a figure walking, and once we zoom in, we realize how tall this figure is, how long his limbs are, how skinny he is as well. Is this simply somebody on stilts walking? Is it possible this is just a person with Marfan syndrome, which is a disorder of the connective tissues that causes a person to be tall and lanky? I know it looks creepy, but I think this is a person on stilts. Just the way the knees are bending weird, that just looks like stilts to me. What do you think on this one? Let me know in the comments section below. This is definitely a creepy kid. As the camera slowly pans towards the left, it falls on a child with no eyes, long hair. It could be somebody on their knees and not a child at all. Could also be the back of the head, not the front. It could be the top of their head and they're looking down. I have to say, this would scare the crap out of me, and if it was my child doing this without my permission, I would ground them for at least a month, and I'd make them sit in timeout for at least an hour. I think this is staged. This is part 2 of the clip where we saw the creepy kid on the wall earlier when he was outside of the building, so I think it's all staged. If you go to the compilation of past videos playlist, you will find hundreds of videos that have previously been analyzed. And as always, thanks to Jim Riley for making the music for this channel. And thanks again for being a part of the Question Everything community.